Yes. Should we start now?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's get it over with. Yes, we today we doing something special. We are honoring the great Edward Reagan Murphy, aka Eddie Murphy to a lot of people. Legendary comedian and actor and singer, writer. You know, today also is the day that Coming to America Part Two comes out. Finally, after like 30 something years, been waiting for the sequel forever. I haven't watched it yet, so I definitely want to see it. And I know there was a lot of people in the on the show earlier, like they were asking us, are we gonna like watch the movie and give our thoughts on it? But I haven't decided if I'm gonna do a movie review. So I mean, it's up to you, Reg, if you want to do one.
Uh, if it is, it's not gonna be like a long one.
Right. I haven't decided yet. But I like this man is legendary. For my generation, it was Eddie. Like before, so I didn't grow up in the prior era in Red Fox and legendary comedians like that. So like growing up, it was like Eddie Murphy was like everything, and just like seeing him on SNL back in the day, and with the different characters like Gumby Gumby and the Black Mr. Rogers,
Yes.
and when he would mimic he would impersonate Stevie Wonder, and he was just great. Like he was definitely, you could tell back then he was a star. And then like what, like when he finally left SNL to do Hollywood and do Beverly Hills Cop. It's one of my favorite films ever. One of my probably my favorite cop film ever. And the Golden. I remember going to see the Golden Child when I was really little, and I still remember going to see them. And we came in late. I think we were like maybe like 10, 15 minutes late, and that was like one of my first times like going to the movie theater to see a movie on the big screen, and it was Golden Child and so many others. Nutty Professor, I went to see that when that came out in theaters, and my mom used to work for Paramount actually, like in the '90s, and she used to get tickets to like the movie premieres, the movie screening. So we went to see Beverly Hills Cop 3, and I had the poster. I don't have the poster anymore. I used to have the poster on my door, and going to see that, and that was a good film, and Boomerang. I remember when that came out, and the soundtrack. I was more in love with the soundtrack than the movie. And this man has done classics. He does have some shit though. I was seeing like some bad films like I Spy with I think Owen Wilson was in that. That was trash. And Metro. I saw Metro on pay per view back in the day when we had pay per view for cable.
Yeah.
And I didn't like. I remember not liking Metro because it reminded me. I'm like, this is. He was better as Axel Foley. I didn't want to see him play no other cop unless it was Axel. And Metro. I didn't really care for that film. So he has some trash. Pluto Nash, like we talked about,
Pluto.
terrible, terrible film. Meet Dave. He just had some trash. And then I felt like he got back to his good stuff with Dreamgirls. That was one of his best acting roles, and you know um what up? Dolomite, of course. You know, I still haven't seen that film. I gotta see it. I know everybody talked about it was a great film, and this man is a legend, and I'm like, yo, we gotta do something special for Eddie, because Eddie, like, he was like the king of cool as a comedian back then. Like his fashion, with that he wearing like the 2 and 3 chains around his neck and the leather outfits from Delirious and Raw, and black people just loved him, man. Like he just spoke to us as a comedian compared to like you know the other comedians at that time, like John Belushi, rest in peace to him, and and Gilda Radner and Dan Aykroyd. Like, they were great, but they didn't speak to us like how Eddie spoke to us. You know what I'm saying? And I think he paved the way for like the Martin Lawrences and the Cat Williams and the DL Hewleys, Mike Epps. Like, I love all of those comedians, but Chris Rock. You know what I'm saying? But they Eddie to me was just like in the lane by himself, and but he led the way for like other great African American comedians coming after him. And What was like your introduction to Eddie, like as a comedian or maybe a musician? What was like your intro to him?
Well, to me, growing up, my introduction to Eddie Murphy, I want to say, was like during the kid movie phase with the Nutty Professors and the
Hmm.
Doctor Doolittles,
Hmm.
which I'm gonna be entirely honest with you. Those movies I never really drawn into Doolittle. Nutty
Hmm.
Professor I kind of grew into once I got older.
Hmm.
To be real with you, I was just like, you know what, it's not as bad as I thought it was
Right.
and stuff like that. But to me, and it's gonna sound kind of weird, but when he did the voiceover work like Donkey from Shrek, which
Right.
Loki, the first two Shrek movies are my favorites and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, man. When he did Donkey, that was what really drew me. And then when BT always showed Boomerangs and what's the other movie? Coming to America, the first
Yes.
one, and
Yes.
stuff like that. And then, of course, I started his stand up, the Delirious, the Raw,
Yes.
and whatever. So, yeah, man, I've always been love Eddie Murphy. Now, I'm gonna be real. He has a lot of trash
Yes. A
and
lot.
a lot of trash and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Like Pluto, man. I'm sorry, bro. I'm just gonna say, what kind of black man is named Pluto and shit? That's um. What else? What else did I not like? I did not like Haunted Mansion.
Oh God.
I did not like Meet Dave. It's like the only movie I liked in the 2000s
Right.
was Norbit. Believe it or not,
See, and Norbit, I've seen Norbit, and it reminded me so much of Nutty Professor. I'm like, this could have been like a spinoff from Nutty Professor.
it reminded me of vulgar Eddie Murphy. That's what it reminded me
Right.
more of. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about that when we get to the list and shit. But yeah, that's what I have to
Like,
say.
yeah. I'm just looking at his filmography, like Bowfinger with Steve Martin, trash.
Never seen it.
I saw that. That was '99. Did not like it. Showtime with He did a movie with Robert De Niro and it was trash. Like,
That,
how do you do a movie with Robert De Niro still in his prime and it's garbage? You know what I'm saying? Did not like that. Tower Heist was pretty decent with Ben Stiller. That was from 2011. I actually saw that on bootleg because I was like, I was not going to see that, but it was actually decent because I think they pull off a heist during the Thanksgiving Day parade in New York.
yeah,
But it's not a great film. It's not like a classic. Um, A Thousand Words. I did see A Thousand Words. That was 2012, and I think he spoke very little. He had very little dialogue in that. I mean, it's not great. Again, it's not a great movie. Vampire in Brooklyn. I didn't like it. I thought and Wes Craven, the late great Wes Craven, a horror icon. This man did Nightmare on Elm Street. That's like my favorite horror franchise ever. He did Vampire in Brooklyn. I thought it could have been better. I think it was just too. It was too comedic than actual horror. It was like a horror comedy I was watching. Um, he has a lot of garbage. Like I said, I Spy, Pluto Nash, trash. The distinguished gentleman. You remember that from '92?
I heard about that.
But I think Show Pepsi Riley was in that. Trash. Holy Man. Uh, Jesus Christ. He had a lot of trash, but I want to just talk about the good shit from Eddie that we know and love that made him. It wasn't just about Beverly Hills Cop. You know what I'm saying? Like my honorable mentions. Like I got some honorable mentions. Like of course Nutty Professor. I went to see part one. When it came out, and I love the soundtrack. The Case, Touch Me, Tease Me joint with Foxy and Mary, and who else was on that? Raekwon was on that soundtrack. You had LL Cool J with the Doing It remix. Definitely love that joint. But that movie was really funny. I like the part two was good too, but I prefer more part one more than the sequel. Delirious, of course, with the infamous leather outfit that you had as you played him on Halloween,
Yeah,
and you look exactly like him. I thought that was the best Eddie Murphy rendition of that Delirious costume. I love that.
appreciate it.
That was a great stand up show. Raw, of course, where he talked about like his mom making like the bootleg burgers for him because they couldn't afford McDonald's. Hilarious. Boomerang, that was a good film with Holly Berry and Robin Givens and the late great Arthur Kitt. That was a great movie. I love the soundtrack as well for that. Life, him and Martin Lawrence. That was another good movie, another good soundtrack. Those to me are like the good of Eddie Murphy when it comes to movies. And then we got our top five. But you have any honorable mentions?
Um, I'm gonna go with Norbit as an honorable mention.
Right.
It was close to making my top five list, but you know what? There's so many other good ones. I felt like Norbit was definitely like, in my opinion, a return to like the more vulgar Eddie Murphy
Yes.
and whatnot. I mean, you had Cat Williams, Eddie Griffin. Um, what was the name of that chick who played the love interest? Ah, damn. Hold on. Um, Thandie Newton. Yeah, that's her
Right.
name.
Danny Newton.
Yeah. Cuba Gooding Jr. He was also
Right.
in the movie.
Hmm.
So yeah, I felt like it was pretty good. I remember when I first saw it in theaters too. I laughed my ass off.
Right.
Um, I'm gonna also give Dolomite is My Name as an audible mention too.
Hmm.
Again, another one I thought about putting in my top five.
Right.
This movie definitely surprised the hell out of me and stuff like that.
Right.
Eddie definitely did his thing as Rudy Ray Moore. Not only did he have a return of Eddie, but Wesley Snipes, he
Hmm.
definitely did his thing on this movie too.
Right.
Um, Definitely like how they reintroduce people who Dolomite is. Another legendary stand-up comedian. Y'all definitely check out who Dolomite and stuff like that. And my last honorable mention. Hold on, let me think. Let me think about this. I'm gonna go with Trading Places.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
a good
this
one.
this one was a good one. This was like one of his first main ones. He did it with Dan Aykroyd.
Hmm.
Like the movie, I was not entirely raised on it as much, if that
Right.
makes sense. Like,
Right.
not saying it's a bad movie, but just saying I only saw like maybe twice,
Hmm.
and it was in Comedy Central and stuff like that. So, yeah, maybe one day I might check it out again.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's not one of my favorites. That was like early Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
With him and Dan Aykroyd and Jamie Lee Curtis was in that.
Hmm.
It's I think it's underrated, but it wasn't like one of my favorites from him.
Right.
You know. My number five. I had to put this in top five. My number five is 48 Hours, the first one. I
Ooh.
like this. I like the sequel. I thought the sequel was well done for the time that they did it, and it had that nostalgia of the first one. But the first one to me, when he played was it Reggie Hammond and Nick Nolte played Cates, and he stole the money, and then he did like time in prison, and he gets out, and then him and Jack is on the search for the money, and they got all this shit is going on around him, and Jack is like a basically a bum ass cop, and Eddie's just trying to get some buns after he's released from prison, and he knows where the money is, but he ain't telling Jack or whatever, and they get into these different fight. I'm like, back then, it was weird. I'm like, you're black and you're hitting a white cop. You like he would have gotten killed if this was 2021. You
Exactly.
know, I'm like, how is he getting away? Fucking this, and he fucked Nick Nolte up. I'm like, how is he getting away fucking this white cop up? You know what I'm saying? It was crazy, and the it was like that was like a buddy cop film, but Eddie wasn't the cop. He was like the criminal. You know what I'm saying? And it was just that was just a funny film, man. It was funny. You know what I'm saying? Like the shit that was going on in that film, and like the music. I love the music as well, and just a great film from the '80s. I haven't watched that film in years. I might watch that shit recently. I gotta watch that again because I enjoyed that film. So I had to include the 48 Hours on the list.
Yeah, definitely a dope choice. That's
Yeah.
definitely raw Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
My number five, I'm gonna go with Life.
Yes.
Yeah. I always one thing I've always loved about Eddie Murphy was the fact that he always used to put his friends on or put rising comedians on and stuff
Right.
like that.
Right.
Um, with this movie, you have Martin Lawrence, who a lot of people compare to Eddie Murphy. like I said, Martin in the '90s, man, definitely at his peak. In my opinion, this was like one of his last great movies until Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins, in my opinion. But
I forgot about that. Roscoe Jenkins, yeah,
yeah,
that
but
was a good one.
yeah, we'll talk about that one day.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so this
Number four, I got Harlem Nights, the black gangster flick with him and the late great Richard Pryor and Della Reese and Tommy from Martin. Damn, so many people died from that film. Danny Aiello was in that film. Man, that was a classic, man. That was a classic, and them like start they had like their own establishment, the Pity Pat Club, and Layla Rashawn was starred in that film with Sunshine, and um Jasmine Guy was in that film, and it just like a great film, a great like early black like gangster type of film for our people, and Eddie playing Quick, the pretty boy gangster, and he got the women, but he was a stone cold killer as well, and um uh that was a great film. I definitely enjoyed watching that, and they went after Bugsy Calhoun, and um that was I watched that film so many times, even when I was like young and I wasn't supposed to be watching those films, and it was just great, man. I love that film. Harlem Nights definitely is a classic. For anybody that hasn't watched it, you gotta watch that film. And you had your comedy, you had your action, you had your drama. It was like everything combined in one like gangster flick for our people. When we were accustomed to watching, Al Capone and Scarface, but we had our own black gangster film. You know what I'm saying? They don't even have black gangster films like that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think like Harlem Nights definitely was like the best one for me. I know like people love Hoodlum with Lawrence Fishburne. Hoodlum was good, but I wouldn't even put Hoodlum on the same level as Harlem Nights. I just think Harlem Nights is just a standalone classic.
and I never seen Hoodlum.
Yeah, Hoodlum I saw again. Hoodlum it had a soundtrack, and the soundtrack was really big because of the song with Mobb Deep and Rakim. Hoodlum was good, but I don't think it's a classic though. Like I watched it, I'm like, yeah, it was good, but I still got Harlem Nights over Hoodlum.
I feel you on that.
Yeah,
My number four is going to be Eddie Murphy Raw.
yeah.
This was one of the best stand-up films ever.
Mhm.
I love Delirious, but I've always been more of a Raw fan.
Right.
This is the one where he was talking about how Bill Cosby pretty much criticized him for being too vulgar and stuff like that. I mean,
Right.
a lot of the jokes, man, you cannot get away with these days. Just the usage of the word fuck alone. I mean,
Right.
just groundbreaking. So, yeah, man, definitely one of my all-time favorite stand-up movies of all time. And yeah, you definitely had like a lot of influence from the Wayans too, because I know
Mhm.
Kim and Damien and Keenan Ivory Wayans were involved with this too. So
Right. My number three is Coming to America, the classic Coming to America that we finally got a sequel for after 30 something years, and he plays King Hakeem, coming from Zamunda, his country, and he was a prince, and his father James Earl Jones playing the king, and what was her name, Madge Sinclair, she played the mom, and he comes to Queens, New York, to look for a princess, and he works at he's a king, but he's working at McDonald's with Sammy, played by Arsenio Hall, and he finds Lisa, played by Shabby Headley, and he does everything in his power to make her his prince, and I loved it. I love the cast with Louis Anderson and John Amos from Good Times, and that I watched that film like so many times, and I laughed, and it was definitely like again another great movie. From him, another great comedy film. Probably to me is I want to say like that's his best comedy film. You know what I'm saying? I love that film, and you know it's definitely it was a hood classic, and then it became like a worldwide classic, and I think that's what led to people wanting to see a sequel after so many years. Like we kept saying, like when are they gonna do a sequel to Coming to America? Like we got to see it. We got to see, him and Lisa have a family and what transpired from that. But the first one was just great. You got a cameo by Samuel L. Jackson in that, and Eric LaSalle with the with the Jerry Curl dude, and just I love that film, man. I mean, I watched that film like hundreds of times. Definitely, it never gets old anytime I watch it, and that's definitely in my top five all time, man. As far as like Eddie Murphy films go, and maybe even comedies. I want to discuss comedies at some point, like best comedies all time. That definitely would be on my list because it was just that funny. Like every time I watch it, I always laugh, and definitely a great one.
That's a dope choice right there. That's dope.
Yeah.
Um, my number three, I'm gonna go with the cult classic itself, Harlem Nights.
Yes.
Yeah, man, this one was definitely another classic. It's kind of funny too because one thing I've always noticed about this movie, it has
Mm-hmm.
more of a following in the black community than the white community.
Right.
Because the white community they always love Beverly Hills Cop, Coming to America, but then
Right.
I don't know the black community we just always refer to this movie, and it's interesting how this is Eddie Murphy's only directorial effort.
Right.
Um, the movie was like him, being raised by this hustler, this gangster, played by Richard Pryor and stuff like that. You had Red Fox, Richard Pryor, and Eddie Murphy in the same movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you had Jasmine Guy, you had Della Reese, you had Belinda Tolbert who played Jenny from The Jeffersons. She was in the movie.
Right.
Arsenio Hall was in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I never knew that Pryor and Eddie Murphy did not get along when they did this movie.
Oh
So
wow.
I
I didn't
never,
know that.
yeah, I didn't know that either. Shit, because I guess because of Richard Pryor, he never really was a fan of Eddie Murphy like that. He just always felt intimidated, I guess. But
Right.
yeah, man.
Did, do you think it has something to do with like the age? Maybe because Pryor was older and like he played the older cat in Harlem Nights.
It's possible.
I didn't know that. Wow. But they had so much great. They had great chemistry on to me on screen.
Exactly, but shit, we never know. That's acting.
Wow. Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even know that, man. That's amazing. But number two is The Golden Child. I think this is his most underrated film, or like at least one of his most underrated films. I feel like it's his most because like when they talk about like Eddie Murphy films, like I never hear nobody mention this film,
What year was that?
and even with him, like I never hear when he talk about his work. I never hear him mention The Golden Child. It's always Axel Foley or Herman was it not Herman Sherman in Nutty Professor. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, wow, how come nobody talks about this one? Did they forget about it? You know what I mean? And when he like he's playing like the chosen. I think he was like he was a detective, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
And he's playing like he's like he becomes a chosen one to find this boy with like magical powers, and they got to take out this evil dude named Sardo Numsi, and Numsi has like the Ashante dagger, and the female what's her name, Charlotte Lewis, like she got something happened. I forgot if she got stabbed with the dagger. Something happened to her where he gotta like wake her up, but he can't wake her up himself. He gotta find a little boy to wake her up, and it was like a mix of like horror and sci-fi, and again you got your comedy because Eddie's always gonna bring comedy in the films. Eddie does, and I enjoyed it, and going to see it as a little boy, I didn't know what the hell I was watching. At that, I was like, I knew it was something regarding the title with the golden child. I'm like, oh, this is the golden child, little bald headed kid with the magical powers. But it was a little bit over my head at that age, but I enjoyed it. There was funny moments in that film. I remember when he went to Tibet, and he went to see like the ancient like old guy in in Tibet. And the dude picked the book and that just shit. That shit was funny. Like he picked his nose and he's like, you just gonna pick your nose. Yeah, that shit was hilarious. It was just so he was like rubbing the when he went to Tibet and like in that old like castle and he was like rubbing the wall. He's like I want the and he had to go through these different like tests. It was almost like watching Super Mario on screen. He's like he had to go through these different levels and these different tests to get the Ashanti dagger. And he had like when he had like one test where he had to cross a bridge while holding a cup of water and he can't spill the water because if he spill the water he die. You
Uh,
remember that part?
yeah.
And all kind of like different like it was like a American Ninja Warrior in a movie. It's like you have to go through these little American Ninja Warrior obstacle courses just to get the Shantae dagger to wake up the female. And I just thought it was a underrated film. Again, I enjoyed it. You know, the CGI for that film wasn't great, in back in the '80s at that time, and what was that, '86? Damn, it was like '86. The CGI. I mean, I don't even think they called it CGI back then in '86. The special effects, but I always thought it was an underrated film, and I always enjoyed it. I always wanted them. That's a movie I wanted them to make a sequel from out of, because I felt like the way I wanted Sardo Noomsi to come back from hell and like maybe 10, 20 years later and wreak havoc again on Earth and mankind and you know we maybe we could see like a older golden child advance with his powers and take on Noomsi with the help of Eddie's character. You know what I'm saying? So I always wanted them to do a sequel. I don't know if they would ever do it, but definitely an underrated film.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you about that. Definitely. My number two, I'm gonna go with Coming to America,
Yes.
the definitive classic itself. I mean, you guys seen Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, James Earl Jones, Matt Sinclair, Shara Headley, excuse me, and of course, Mr. John Amos himself.
Yes.
I mean, the one thing I've always loved about this movie is how you can definitely see like the African influences, the like style, the clothing in that movie and stuff like that. I mean, this whole movie was definitely it's just a movie you can just watch with the whole family. I
Right.
mean, it has the right balance between the raw joke and like the family friendly joke.
Mm,
But at the end of the day, it has a lot of heart too, which is definitely why you have to hold this more in high regard and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
mm. Yes. Definitely classic. My number one is no secret. It is Beverly Hills Cop, the
That's mine
first
too.
one, Axel Foley, and I've heard over the years. I don't know how true this is that the Eddie wasn't the first choice. I think it was Sylvester Stallone.
Mm.
I think it was either Sylvester or Bruce Willis. I think it was Sylvester, if I'm not mistaken. That he was the first choice for this movie, but I don't think Sylvester would have made it a classic the way Eddie did. I think Eddie again, like his personality, the comedy and like the facial expressions he made. I feel like it's a classic because of him. You know what I'm saying? You had like Judge Reinhold in it. You had James Russo played Mikey, his friend from Detroit that got gunned down, and he follows the lead all the way out to Beverly Hills, and he meets up with I forgot Judge what was Judge what was his character again? I forgot his Sergeant John Taggart and what was the other one? It was Taggart and Billy. That was Judge Reinhold and what's the other dude name? John Ashton and you had the lieutenant Ronnie Cox. The lieutenant was like a hard nosed lieutenant for them, and he was always on their ass. And when Axel got to Beverly Hills, he was wrecking havoc on the whole city, and the lieutenant wanted him gone, go back to Detroit, and you're not welcome here, and he was like, "Fuck that! I gotta investigate my friend's murder." And Bronson Pinchot was in that film playing Surge. This is before Perfect Strangers, and I grew up watching that TV show on ABC TGIF. Bronson Pinchot is in that, and um, it was a great film. Like I remember watching it. I think I watched it on home video for the first time, and um, I fell in love with it from that first viewing, and I watched that like hundreds of times. Even now, I can still watch it, and I know they put it out recently on like 4K, and even now I can still watch it, and it's still a funny ass film, and and the antics he got into with in the strip club with Taggart and Billy, and it was, oh man, it was it was crazy, and they go after Victor Maitland, the the shisty villain in the film, and he was like into like he was like I think it was like an art dealer or something like that. You hear me?
Yeah, he,
Yeah, I think he was like an art dealer, and he was dealing in a lot of like different. He had his hands in different things, and they try to take out Victor Maitland and his henchmen, and just a classic cop film. Like I said, I couldn't see Bruce Willis or Sylvester Stallone or
hell
Kurt
no.
Russell doing that playing Axel Foley. Only Eddie Murphy to me will probably be Axel Foley, and
Yeah,
you had the great soundtrack, the great the hit songs with Neutron Dance from Patti LaBelle, and just a great film, just a great cop film, a classic, his best film to me ever.
yeah, man, that's my number one as well too.
Yes.
To me, this is like the definitive Eddie Murphy role. I mean, again, like the whole style of this whole movie was just amazing and
Hmm.
stuff like that. It's just like the raunchy, you know, buddy cop or whatever stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, Eddie Murphy at his prime. I gotta rewatch the second one though, but I remember
Yeah.
watching the second one years ago. I did like it,
Yeah.
but I definitely gotta rewatch that. So yeah,
Yeah. The second one was dope. I remember getting the soundtrack. I had the soundtrack on cassette, and they had like the Jets was on that. I don't even remember who else was on. I remember the Jets was on it because when I saw the unsung for the Jets, they talked about doing that song for the movie, and that was like a hit song. I forgot the name of that shit, but yeah, the second one was good. That's when the lieutenant had gotten shot, and Bridget Nielsen, Sylvester Stallone's ex-wife, she was one of the villains because she was working for somebody in the film, but they had shot that like I think it was like maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes of the film, the lieutenant got shot, but he didn't die, but they got shot, and Axel had to find out who was behind shooting the lieutenant. So that was a good sequel. The sequel, I know the sequel made a lot of money, you know.
yeah,
But
man.
yeah, but this was definitely fun. I definitely enjoyed this, Reg. Thanks again for doing this.
Man.
I also got the best of Eddie Murphy on Saturday Night Live.
Ooh,
Best of Eddie Murphy DVD. I got this like I want to say like back in like maybe 2002, 2003. I know it's out of print, but they have others there's others I want to get because they got a Chris Rock best of and Will Ferrell, but most of them are out of print. I know like I think the Adam Sandler one is out of print, but yeah, this has like all the famous skits that he was known for that made him famous on SNL. Like when Stevie Wonder was actually did that skit where him and Joe Piscopo is singing Ebony Ivory, and that skit is on there. You got the James Brown skit, James Brown in the hot tub. That skit is on there. The Gumby skit, all the famous skits is on there. So definitely you can find try to get it not on Amazon because it's out of print on Amazon, but um try eBay. eBay should have it, or Craigslist. Definitely pick it up. It shouldn't be a lot of money. I don't think it should be a lot of money at this point, but definitely um, this was great. Eddie Murphy's my one of my favorite comedians of all time, and I'll definitely have to do something special, for him and Coming to America. Everybody go check out Coming to America Part 2. Don't believe what the critics are saying. I'm hearing like negative reviews. I'm gonna check it out myself. Maybe we'll come back and do a review for that movie. You know.
Right.
But yes, this was fun. Subscribe to the channel, Danny Rock Podcast. Like, comment, share. Let me know in the comments your three favorite Eddie Murphy films and your three least favorite Eddie Murphy films all time.
I appreciate
Yeah.
you for doing this,
All
bro.
right. Yeah. So we'll see you when we see you.
All right, peace.
Peace.